I am Bonnie Bruder, and you are watching the AskBonBon Show, real conversations about what matters most, where we bring you the people and the tools to create a life that you love. So today we are continuing with our entrepreneurial series, and we're going to introduce you to another amazing guest who started his own company and does something a little bit different. So Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and your company.
Okay, so Scott Weintraub, as you said, I'm founder, co-founder, and one of the partners at a company called Healthcare Regional Marketing. We do regional marketing for healthcare companies, as the name implies, and it's really pharmaceutical companies. So pharmaceutical companies hire us to help them market their products.
Fantastic. So we have a lot of viewers that are sitting at home and maybe work for a corporation or are in their cube and not quite satisfied. How did you personally make the jump from, working in the corporate world to becoming an entrepreneur and having your own company?
So that's exactly where I was. I started my career at Procter & Gamble, a $50 billion company, went to Pfizer, another $50 billion company, and it was good. They paid me good money, but after a while it wasn't fun. So I'm like, it's that simple. It wasn't fun. So myself and one of my coworkers said, we're sitting around having a beer. We should leave the company. At the cafeteria, we should leave. And we said, hey, let's start our own company. And we went through 3 or 4 ideas, and we finally said, hey, we're bringing some marketing innovation to our department at Pfizer. Let's leave and see if we can make a company out of that. So that's what we did. I live in Jersey, just across the river, and there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies in New York and New Jersey. So what I did is I went to 20, 25 of my friends and said, hey, I have an idea for a new company, and I showed it to them, did like a little mini PowerPoint presentation. And they would say, oh, you should change this, you should change this, that's as interesting. Then I would ask them, hey, can you recommend somebody else in your company I might show it to? And went through maybe 50 or 60 folks, and then people finally started saying, hey, how much does that cost? How quickly can you do it? And I was like, oh, we have an idea here. So that's when we decided to leave and start our own company.
So I love that. A lot of times when we work with people, or somebody that might be watching the show might think, oh, I just have an idea, so I'm going to quit my job and then I'm going to make it happen. But you had to talk to quite a lot of people to make sure that your idea was viable and that it would be, a smart business decision. Is that right?
Yeah, so interesting. The first idea was we were going to develop a body wash.
Okay.
Because when we worked at Procter & Gamble, I worked on body washes in the marketing department. My co-founder friend worked in sales, and we're like, hey, we could sell this body wash idea that we had to Walmart, because that's who we sold to. And when I was at Procter & Gamble, they tested it was going to be $8 million. And Procter & Gamble said, we ain't got time for $8 million. So we said, hey, we got time for $8 million. And then as we went through, this is more complicated than we thought. Then we had this other idea where we were going to cater ideas for doctors. We tested that. I visited 40 doctors. They said no to that. And then we came up with the regional marketing. And like you said, we talked to 50 people, and we kept pivoting the idea a little bit till we finally, people started saying, how much is that going to cost? How long? And we said, hey, we're on to something.
That is fantastic. I hear that from a lot of entrepreneurs, that there are many ideas and sometimes quite a lot of failures that you go through first before you hit your home run.
Right. So, we had those 2 failures, but the smart thing is we didn't really invest a lot of money. We invested a lot of time into those, so probably, months of work into both of those ideas. But then when we finally had the right idea, it was interesting. I told you people started saying, how much? I called one of my friends. His name was Lou. I'm like, hey, Lou, I showed it to him. He's like, hey, you should call this guy Seth. He'd give you good input. He works at Johnson & Johnson. I'm like, perfect. So I call him on the phone. Hey, Seth, my name's Scott. I'm friends with Lou. Come on in. So I go in there, and his assistant comes and meets me in the lobby, walks me up to his office, and I didn't realize as soon as you turn the corner, you can tell you're like an executive row. And he's chairman of North American Pharmaceuticals. 19,000 people report to him.
Wow.
So he's really big. And it's a good thing I didn't know, otherwise I would have been nervous.
Sure.
And then I meet him and I start showing him. I said, oh, here's the idea. And 5 slides into 20, he's like, hey, do you mind if I invited the vice president of marketing? And he'd have good input on this. And then the vice president of marketing comes in, and 5 slides in, he's like, hey, this is a great idea. Where'd you find this guy? And Seth's like, oh, he's my friend. Don't worry, I found him. And it kind of just snowballed from there. And 2 weeks later, we officially started the company, presented to them the first day. 2 people said we want to buy it, and we're kind of off to the races.
Wow. So that's some amazing credibility, right? You're getting some good feedback from the industry. What is it about your company that is different and sets you apart?
So every pharmaceutical company markets their products, and they typically hire marketing agencies to help. So you see all these TV commercials, and you see them a million times, and then they produce pieces for doctors, for sales reps to go into doctors. Hey, Dr. Bonnie, you should use my drug. What we do is we have a patented analytical model. So when we're both pretty good at math, and we hired some statisticians to help figure it out. But if you have a product like Lipitor, it used to be the biggest product in the world. 20 out of every 100 people at one time used to use it for high cholesterol. But maybe in New York, it might have been 30, but in St. Louis, Missouri, it might have been 10. So we looked at like 200 different measures to figure out why is it doing better in city A versus city B. And then we'd, some kind of clustering algorithm figure out that, Brooklyn and St. Louis and Portland are all kind of similar, even though they're 3,000 miles apart, so we should do marketing plan A for them. But the Bronx is similar to Miami, is similar to Chicago, and we should do a different marketing plan for them.
Interesting.
So that's what we do very different than other folks.
Wow, that is fascinating. I've never thought of that. You think you go to the doctor, you get a prescription, you go fill it, and as a consumer, I never think any further than that. But that's really fascinating that so much research goes into, how a specific product is marketed.
Well, I mean, if you think about consumers, so, you and I drink soda.
Yes.
But if you go in the Midwest, they drink pop, right?
Yes.
And people have hoagies versus subs versus grinders. So with drugs, there's lots of variables. So the hospital system might make a decision, we want to use product A, and now every doctor associated leans towards product A. But another hospital system might decide on product B. The cost of drugs are different depending, like you have United Healthcare, I have Aetna. Cost is different.
Sure.
You live in a neighborhood where there's a whole bunch of, white people. I live in a neighborhood, a whole bunch of Hispanics. Products work different. So there's hundreds of different things to look at to figure out. And with like Lipitor, it was an $8 billion drug. If you can grow 1%, that's a lot of money, So they spend a lot of time on that.
Fantastic. So what is your vision, your goal for your company? Now you've obviously had quite a bit of success and you've brought it into the market. So what is your goal looking down, a year, a couple years down the road?
So we're having fun. So that was kind of the original goal. Hey, make sure we have fun and we can hire people. Now we're to the point where, like, I feel some responsibility because, we have 35 or 40 employees. It's like, a lot of these people rely on us to, pay all their bills. So the vision is really, hey, can we continue to grow and innovate? So we're actually looking to acquire other companies to grow even bigger so we can have more scale. A lot of times we'll be working with a brand team and they're like, oh, this is great. Can you also do A, B, and C? Because we enjoy working with you guys. I'm like, well, to be honest, we don't do TV commercials. Some of them want to do that. So it's like, hey, can we broaden our skills? So the number one thing is keep innovative, which is tough. And then number two is grow our offerings so we can kind of grow the company.
Fantastic. Innovation is one of my favorite words. I think that's so important in business. It's a real buzzword now, too, in all types of technology, and especially in the medical industry. So it's great to hear that that's your vision. So what advice do you have for people, again, if you're sitting on the couch and you're watching this show and you're thinking, wow, I really have an idea that might have some legs to it. What advice, since you've walked that path, do you have for the viewers?
So like 2 days ago, or maybe, I don't remember, I was watching like Good Morning America or CBS Morning, I forget. And there was this couple that was married for 65 years.
Aww.
And they asked them, it's like, oh, what made it, did you guys, was it love? What was it? And the lady said, if I didn't marry Earl, I would have married somebody else and I'd be sitting here with them for 65 years. And she said it's commitment. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting because I think that's why I would recommend to anyone, is like, you really got to be committed.
Yes.
So like the first year, no salary, no profit.
Mm-hmm.
Second year, we took basically half the salary of our old job. Now we've been in business 8 years. My salary is still less than what I used to make. Now, there's profit at the end of some years, so it works out okay. but it's really committed. So many a time, I could have said, hey, I'm done, enough. So I would say that would be the number one thing, is committed, have both feet in and go for it. To me, that's the main thing.
I would agree. I love, I used to work for Tony Robbins, and he would always talk about the word decision, and that the Latin definition is to cut off from. And I think that's the biggest mistake so many entrepreneurs make, is you kind of keep one foot in one world and one in the other, and you have to be so committed to, you know, whatever it takes in order to get your business to succeed. So it's great to hear that you have experienced that as well.
Somebody once said, you can't get to second if you don't take your foot off first.
Very
true.
true.
Kind of same exact thing. So that would be the number one thing, committed. So I think, you know, our ideas were pretty good. We're pretty smart people. We work pretty hard, but we just decided, hey, we're going to make it successful no matter what.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's really important too, to decide before. You know, I've had some very powerful mentors, and they've always taught me, start with the end in mind. So we were talking just before the show, what's your goal? That would be to be on the OWN network. But you have to take a million steps before you get there, but you always want to know what your big goal is. Otherwise, you're just kind of over here, going this direction. So it is important to have a clear
And another
path.
thing is, so since starting it, I've joined some entrepreneur groups, and like I read all these statistics, you know, 9 out of 10 fail within the first year, and then, you know, out of the one that succeeds, 9 out of those 10 fail in the next 5 years. And I was like, had I read all this beforehand, I would have never done it. So one of my friends said, oh, my husband's thinking about starting a job. You know, what advice would you have for him? I'm like, starting a company, I was like, don't do it. Like, if I knew all the stats, I wouldn't do it. So you really got to be committed that, hey, for us, it was, we want to create an environment that's fun.
Yes.
And, you know, profits and stuff will all come, but it's like, as long as it's fun. And now the employees really like it, our customers like it, so everything's working out great.
That is so great to hear. Yeah. So where can people find more about you? If they want to contact you, or if they have questions about how you did what you did, or interested in being a client, where's the best way for them to find you?
So, you know, we have a website. It's Healthcare Regional Marketing. So if you would type that into Google, we'd be the first one. But our website is HRM, Healthcare Regional Marketing, hrmexperts.com.
Okay.
And when we started, HRM.com was taken. So we're like, what are we going to do? So we said, oh, we'll come up with HRM Experts. And then people would ask, why is it HRM Experts? Because they thought that would be the company name. I said, well, when we started it, we wanted to do this, but then the folks at Google called us up and said, hey, we think you're experts, so we should make it HRM Experts, which is not true, but makes a nice story.
That's fantastic. So it's funny, I didn't know that when you were working at Procter & Gamble, you had the idea for a body wash. I invented a dog spray and had the same thing. It's called Dirty Dog, but that was taken, so it's Dirty Dog Lovers. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Exactly.
So fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story. I know it's such a valuable lesson for people that are wanting to, you know, branch out on their own and do whatever it takes to start a business. So it's great to meet people like you that are doing it and doing it well.
Well, thanks for having me, Bonnie.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We will be right back with another incredible entrepreneur.